Hello and welcome to worship at Plattwoods Church. My name is Jessica.
And my name is Matt. We are so glad to be in worship with you today. If it is your first time in worship, you are our special guest.
We want you to know that all are welcome here, with all of your curiosities, your questions, your struggles, and celebrations. All are welcome here.
Yeah, over the next hour, we are going to hang out. We are going to sing, pray, hear a message from our lead pastor, Evie Martin. We are in the second week of our series, All You Can, where we are talking about earning, saving, and giving. Today is, you guessed it, saving. So, we understand that money, talking about money in general, can be stressful. So, today we wanted to start out with a de-stressor. De-stressor. Okay. So, Jessica, what is something in your life what is your favorite way? Actually, let's say that. What's your favorite way to de-stress?
Ooh. So my first reaction is I just moved again, but I finally have a jacuzzi tub.
What?
But, it's a full corner tub. It's a lot. It's excess if you But there's still so much work that goes into it, so it's really not even the answer. But I always struggle with this question because the self-care industry is a really expensive industry. You have to, you're expected to buy the bath bombs or buy the fancy chocolate or the foot scrub or whatever.
I have to buy the thing to de-stress me.
To de-stress.
Oh, wait a minute.
And so free things. So I actually was doing that for a while. I would get really anxious and I was like, I need to leave my home, and I'd go shopping. And after 2 trips of that, I was like, oh, I have things and anxiety. So I thought, what about a walk? Let me just go for a walk.
Let's just try something for free.
And it worked a lot better.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. It's like going to the store when you're hungry.
Oh no.
Right? So you buy all the things you don't need because you're so hungry and everything just looks delicious. So it's de-stress, you're almost in a hunger mode when you're stressed. And so you're looking to buy things to satiate your stress. That's really good.
Yeah. What do you do?
Mine is playing music, for sure. Yeah. It's like I said last week, my thing to do would be to be a drummer. And beating drums is a good stress reliever.
How's that going with the baby?
So I got an electric. I bought something.
But you're not repeatedly buying it.
Not repeatedly buying it. It was a one-time thing. And it's for my passion. That's how I justify it. I did. I got an electric drum set. So it's going good. So I can put my headphones on. Baby can be asleep upstairs, and we're good to go. So, oh my gosh, I failed so hard. It's hard to talk about saving. It's hard to talk about these things, but it is important to think about simplifying. So I have 1 drum set. I don't have 10 drum sets, but it is something that I care about. So, what is one way that you like to simplify your life? Because I think that's something important as we talk about saving. That we're not spending in excess, that we're simplifying our lives. So maybe we can be better givers, better supporters, better generous lives.
Yeah, I've got a practice just right now is I've got an entire room at the house, which I hear my privilege in being able to say this, but it's the garage sale room. It is, so if I pick something up, excuse me, because with all of the moves, there's been a lot of transition in my life, cleaning up my parents' house, there's a lot of excess. But I have and it just goes to the garage sale room.
Sure.
Also, a lot of my shopping's at thrift stores. And so I'm like, at least I'm spending less money if I'm spending.
Yeah.
I'm saving the environment. And if I don't need it, it'll end up back at Hillcrest. But I've supported a good organization in the process.
That's right. That's really cool. I really like that. Mine is definitely, I would love to wear the same shirt every day. If I could just get 5 black t-shirts and just be able to be in a climate where I could wear the same thing every day, I would totally do that. But for me, it has been trying to simplify the wardrobe a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying to get down to just saying okay, here is this simplified thing, because I love to buy clothes.
The good staples.
I really do. Yeah, I have the good staples. So now it's hoodie season, so I just wear a hoodie every day. So it's awesome. But yes, simplifying is important. So simplifying our lives is a great way that we can think about saving and all those kinds of things. So I'm sure Evie's going to have much more to say about this today. So you ready to hop into worship?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
darkness closes in. You are hope, you are hope. You have covered all my sin. You are peace when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wanderings. You are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are life, in you death has lost its sting. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. Here we go. You are more than my words would ever say. You are Lord, all creation will proclaim. You are here, in your presence I'm made whole. You are God, all of else I'm letting go. And no, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. My heart will sing, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever
Please join me in a time of prayer. Lord God, you have blessed us in so many ways. You have given us food and water to sustain our bodies, and clothes and shelter for protection. You've given us the financial resources that we need to afford those things. We are so grateful for always having enough. Holy God, in times where we focus on the things that we have, help us to see where we can make sacrifices for dreams that we have, for things that you place on our hearts. Help us to stay disciplined when it gets difficult. When the world creeps in and tries to tell us that we need more or that we don't have enough, would you remind us that your abundance is always enough? Your word is full of truth and wisdom about finances. Lord, motivate us to spend time with you, focusing on the things that we have, focusing on what you can give. Help us to accept the counsel of others and not be afraid to reach out to people in this season. God, no matter how much or how little we have, help us to stay faithful to you. I know that my happiness does not depend on the amount of money I have, but on the love and grace that you provide. Help us to remember how we can earn, save, and give all that we can. We say all these things through your Son, who taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Hey everyone, my name is Shanessa Aston and I'm the Director of Student Ministries here at Plattwoods Church. The last weekend of October, the student ministry loaded up the shuttle and headed to the fall retreat. This is one of my absolute favorite weekends of the entire year because it's a weekend filled with worship, with hype nights, with huge group games, basketball tournaments, small groups, laughter, and just making new friends. This year we got to hang out with 115 new friends from other area United Methodist churches, plus students made friends with the Camp Cat. This fall retreat is an incredible weekend of connecting with each other, with caring adults, and with God. Throughout the weekend, students learned what it means to stop hiding who they truly are and how to be a light in the world. It's amazing to watch how God transforms lives of students on this trip each year. The fall retreat is not possible without our amazing adult leaders. So a special shout out and a huge thank you to the leaders that gave up their weekend to spend time with students. I am already so excited for the fall retreat in 2023.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evie Martin. I'm the lead pastor here at Plattwoods Church. Welcome to Worship Online. Can anyone tell me who's on the $5 bill? Do you know it right off the top of your head? Lincoln. Maybe that one was easy. What about the 20? It's currently Andrew Jackson. Probably soon it will be Harriet Tubman, right? What about a quarter? Who's on the quarter? Washington? Yeah. We maybe have to think about it a little bit, don't we? Some of us might not have a clue. I know my kids don't. I don't know about you, but I don't use cash much anymore. I'm not even sure there's any in my wallet right now. Money has sort of evolved into this ubiquitous, intangible reality for us. We can spend it, save it, transfer it, invest it without ever touching it. It's woven into the fabric of every moment of our lives, so much so that we can simultaneously not think about it at all and subconsciously think about it all the time. If we're not careful, money can become the centripetal force of our lives. And as Christians, that's problematic because we claim that Jesus is that force. He's the one at the center, drawing us ever toward him. So it's important as a community of faith to take some time in the rhythm of our lives and stop and think about our relationship to money. Are we in charge of our money? Or is our money in charge of us? Jesus had a lot to say about money and our relationship to it. And we're building on a lot of his teachings and teaching from the Old Testament about how we as people of faith can be faithful in the managing of our finances. But we're also building on our own distinct history as Methodists. The founder of the Methodist movement in the 1700s, John Wesley, taught practical principles around finance to mostly working class people in England who didn't have a lot of money to begin with. He came up with 3 simple rules to conceptualize what our relationship to material resources could look like in light of our relationship with Jesus. And they work at every income level. We've summarized these 3 simple rules in our series title, All You Can. Earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. Now, while those sound like simple imperative statements with a period at the end, we know from last week's sermon, Earn All You Can, that it's more like an ellipsis. It's really a ... after each phrase. It's not a directive to go make as much money as humanly possible, no matter the cost. There are very specific parameters around the means and ends of our earning. That's what we learned last week. And I'd encourage you, if you weren't able to see that last week, go back online and watch week 1 of this series. The second principle, save all you can, holds to those same kind of guidelines. There are reasons and intentions behind our savings that ground us spiritually in ways that are different from how the world might tell us to save. And in all of these teachings, it's important for us to remember the greater purpose of money. We have to start from the foundation of viewing money as a gift from God. It's a tool. I shared this quote from John Wesley last week, and I'll remind us of it here again today. Money is an excellent gift of God, answering the noblest ends. In the hands of his children, it is food for the hungry, drink for the thirsty, raiment for the naked. It gives to the traveler and the stranger where to lay his head. By it, we may supply the place of a husband to the widow and of a father for the fatherless. We may be a defense for the oppressed, a means of health to the sick, of ease to them that are in pain. It may be as eyes to the blind, feet to the lame, yea, a lifter up from the gates of death. Money in the hands of Christians should function differently in the world than money in the hands of everybody else. When we think about saving all we can, a particular parable from the Gospel of Luke comes to mind. Jesus is teaching a large crowd, as he often does, and a man steps forward and asks him to settle a financial dispute between him and his brother. Jesus basically says, no, he's not the referee between these 2 brothers. And then he gives this warning and a story. Watch out. Guard yourself against all kinds of greed. After all, one's life isn't determined by one's possessions, even when someone is very wealthy. Then he told them a parable. A certain rich man's land produced a bountiful crop. He said to himself, what will I do? I have no place to store my harvest. Then he thought, here's what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. That's where I'll store all my grain and goods. I'll say to myself, you have stored up plenty of goods, enough for several years. Take it easy, eat, drink, and enjoy yourself. But God said to him, fool, Tonight you will die. Now who will get the things you have prepared for yourself? This is the way it will be for those who hoard things for themselves and aren't rich toward God. Jesus had some very particular problems with this man's approach to saving. He had stored and stored and stored the excess of his harvest. He built bigger and bigger barns to store more and more. In today's terms, we might call this hoarding, right? And we make TV shows about the chaos and the psychology of hoarding. But when we're talking about money, we put nicer words around it. We don't want to think of it as hoarding. So we call it amassing wealth. That sounds better, doesn't it? But it's the same problem. And it's not a new problem. It's been around for a long time. Today, it's actually easy to see because we've made celebrities out of the people who do this the most. We've put them on lists. World's wealthiest men and women, top 10 lists of greatest net worth individuals. We know many of them by name. We joke about our complicity in helping them get to where they are with our dependence on Amazon Prime delivery, our addictions to social media, or our daily use of Microsoft. But these uber wealthy start to look a little more like the man in the parable with bigger and bigger barns when we recognize that in 2022, 3 individuals, own more wealth than the bottom 50% of American society. 3 people, same amount of money as 160 million people. And before you tell me that that's okay because they give so much away, it's not, because they don't. Of the members of the Forbes 400 in 2022, only 9 have given away more than 20% of their wealth. There is enough money in the world to solve all the problems of the world. Most of it is just stored up in the barns, like the man in the parable. And that was Jesus' problem with the man's wealth. The man had no plan or purpose for what he had saved except to spend it on himself. He had security for his next few years, and he planned to kick back, take it easy, and eat and drink it all away. God points out the folly and the selfishness in this plan. Who will get the things you have prepared for yourself? God asks. You're not going to make it through the night. There was no plan for what the man had amassed, except to enjoy it himself. And this is not what we mean by save all you can. There is greater purpose and there can be greater joy in the financial practice of saving. When we look at Wesley's teaching on saving all you can, I like to think about it in 3 parts. And because I like alliteration, we can categorize saving as simplicity, stewardship, and seeds. The biggest aha moment for me in learning about Wesley's concept of saving all you can is that for him, save doesn't mean store. Save primarily means simplify. Much of what he writes about has to do with cutting out excess in order to save expense. So he doesn't have this notion of storing up a lot by earning a lot. It's more of a cultivation of the practice of cutting unnecessary things out of our lives in order to save ourselves additional expenses and stress. Simplicity is a spiritual discipline. It's one that's really difficult to practice in a culture of accumulation. But simplicity is the practice that undergirds our financial work of saving. When Wesley writes about it, he juxtaposes simplicity over and against extravagance and indulgence. He writes, do not throw money away in idle expenses. Do not waste any part of so precious a talent merely in gratifying the desire of the eye by superfluous or expensive apparel or by needless ornaments. Waste no part of it in curiously adorning your houses, in superfluous or expensive furniture, in costly pictures, painting, gilding books, in elegant rather than useful gardens. I feel directly judged by Mr. Wesley at this point. Does he somehow know about my multiple bins of Christmas decorations which are about to curiously adorn my house? Did someone tell him 250 years ago about my shoe situation? It is, after all, quite superfluous. But his points are well taken. Basically, don't burn through money on stuff you don't really need. Don't dole it out to make yourself or your lifestyle look amazing, trying to keep up with the Joneses, as we might say. It's a vicious, endless cycle, he goes on to write. There is no end to it, and the obsession will ultimately consume you and push you to live beyond your means. And he was saying this in the 1700s. He never could have imagined the ease with which we can fritter away our money these days on all the extras, the cute top in the Facebook ad, the buy one, get one free deal on candles because who doesn't need more candles, the incessant barrage of products and services and experiences that we absolutely cannot live without, available with a single click. Recently, I combed through all of the online subscriptions I've managed to sign myself up for over the last few years. In an effort to try to rein in some of my own expenses, this was a good place to start. Without even knowing it, I was managing to spend close to $100 a month on random stuff or access to internet content that I absolutely do not need. It was all extra. And by canceling and simplifying, I am saving that part of my income from being spent thoughtlessly. It can have a different purpose. Perhaps the most formative example of this practice of simplicity over and against extravagance for me was the experience of dining out as a child and a teenager. In my family of origin, my dad is the frugal one. He is the exemplar of this life of saving all you can through the practice of simplicity that we're talking about. Don't buy it if you don't need it for survival. He will proudly tell you this. So growing up, we didn't go out to eat a whole lot. And when we did, we could not order sodas. We were not allowed. Water was the only approved beverage of choice for the table. It was just a given. We didn't fight it, we just accepted it. $1.50 per person for an unnecessary beverage was simply an unacceptable and extravagant expense. And this might seem ridiculous, inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, but think about it. A lifetime of foregoing the overpriced restaurant soft drinks for a family of 5 amounts to a lot of money, actually. Money that can be given away instead, invested for retirement, used for kids' college tuition. He saved it by not spending it. And that created the margin for using the family resources in more intentional, less frivolous, and sugary ways. To this day, I cannot bring myself to order a soft drink at a restaurant. That word margin, though, that I just used is important. Margin is the fruit of this practice of simplicity in our financial lives. Imagine a page in a book where all the words run all the way to the edge of the paper, top to bottom, left to right. There's no white space anywhere. It would be overwhelming to try and read that. Your eyes and your brain would have a hard time making sense out of it. You would easily lose your place. But when there's a margin, when there's white space around the edge, you can make better sense out of what you are seeing. You have room to make observations and take notes. You can even doodle and draw in the margins. The same is true for financial margins. When we push our money to the max and we don't practice simplicity in our spending, we're running all the way to the edges of the pages of our lives, and it's overwhelming. There's no room for thoughtfulness or for imagining other possibilities. We can easily lose our place. Saving, by spending less, creates margins. And margins create financial space for us, space for crisis, a health emergency that's not covered by insurance, a new washing machine when the old one bites the dust, an urgent need for a family member. We can respond because we have margin. Margins create space for creativity and thinking about your own vocation or maybe making a change in job or in home, helping to solve problems in our community or our world. And margins create space for compassion. When a need arises in the community, you can respond to it with generosity. For hurricane or flood relief, for the hungry in our city, for a project you're passionate about here in our own church. Without margin, our hands and our resources are often tied up, and we can't respond in ways that we wish we could. Practicing simplicity creates margins to put our money toward a more noble purpose than the daily excesses and extravagances that only serve our desires. Simplicity, when we are diligent in it, always leads to having more at our disposal. And this is where the understanding of stewardship comes in. In the book of James, we get a description of God as the giver of every good and perfect gift. I love that name for God, and I use it quite a bit when I pray. James 1:17 says, "Every good gift, every perfect gift comes from above. These gifts come down from the Father, the creator of the heavenly lights." It's so easy and so culturally acceptable for us to think of all that we have as our own. We worked for it, we earned it, it's ours. We feel beholden to no one for it. And the American way is only going to reinforce, never challenge that frame of mind. But our biblical foundation tells us a different story. Gifts come from God. They did not originate with us. And when we pair that with Wesley's understanding of money as a gift from God with very specific uses in the world, we have to shift our mindset about what exactly it is that we are doing with the money we have. Steward isn't a word that's used much anymore, but we still have a general awareness of its meaning. Steward means that we are tasked with managing resources on behalf of someone else. Whatever is in my bank account and savings and investments right now belongs first to God. It is my task while I walk this earth to manage it and use it as I think God would see fit. That should make me think differently about how much goes where and for what purpose. We think about stewardship all the time here on staff at Platte Woods Church. We are a decent-sized United Methodist church, the largest in the Northland of Kansas City. We have around 500 people worshiping together on a weekend, and we have just under a $3 million annual budget. What a lot of people might take for granted is that all of that money is given to us by you. We don't get grants, government funding, or revenue from selling baptisms or something. Can't do that. That's hugely frowned upon. We do have our preschool and our Parents' Day Out that generate a portion of revenue that we can then reinvest back into that service to the community. But otherwise, every penny that we spend was a gift from you. And we think about that all the time. Our administrators and our ministry staff, our facilities managers and musicians all think about you when we establish our budgets, when we make purchases for the work of the church. We know that we are stewarding the funds that you have given for God's work in our midst, and that impacts basically every choice that we make. We do not take it lightly. It's a different kind of relationship with money that I have with my own bank account. But really, it shouldn't be. Can we shift our thinking toward stewardship of all our assets? They are a gift from God. How are we using them for God's glory first, not our own? Finally, we can think about saving all we can through the metaphor of seeds. When we have simplicity in our lives, we create margin, which usually leads to more money. And when we consider ourselves stewards of that money for a greater purpose, it leads us to ask questions about the future. What could it look like if we saved, little by little, tiny seeds planted, that over time grow into a tree or a garden or a forest that bring life and beauty for the future. Very few of us come into large sums of money all at once that we suddenly have to figure out what to do with. But most of us can set aside a little from every paycheck, every allowance, as seeds which will grow into some future hope. Mostly we do this sort of generically for retirement. We're planning for our own future security and well-being. And when we're honest and we go back to the parable, that's what the man with the barns was doing. It is responsible to plan so that we can eat and live under a roof when we are no longer earning an income. But maybe there's more to imagine. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus gives us a different vision of storing up our stuff than the first story we began with. Here, Jesus says, "Stop collecting treasures for your own benefit on earth, where moth and rust eat them and where thieves break in and steal them. Instead, collect treasures for yourselves in heaven, where moth and rust don't eat them and where thieves don't break in and steal them. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Are there seeds that we could begin planting now for a different kind of future, little by little, that might serve a greater purpose at the end of our lifetime or even after? Is everything we're saving for our own benefit? Or are we saving for a purpose that God might be interested in? I know a lot of you do this, actually. I know we have kids and students who save small amounts over a long period of time to make a special gift, maybe towards our Christmas Eve offering or for a special project that helps those in need. And just recently, I met with an individual from our church who began decades ago, alongside his retirement, setting aside money differently and diligently, and a little bit at a time, with the vision and the hope that one day he could start funding scholarships for students at Plattwoods Church. He's passionate about young people and about education, and he wants some part of what he has earned over a lifetime to help them along their journey. And finally, he has reached his goal. Every little deposit was a seed, but it was a seed with a purpose, and those flowers are now about to bloom. Does our saving serve only ourselves? Or do we have a vision of how the seeds of our saving might flourish for a greater purpose one day? What is your passion? What is your compassion? What has God uniquely laid on your heart to tend to in this world? And how might your saving work toward that end? Save all you can. Through simplicity, as stewards of God's gifts, and by planting seeds for the future hope that God has given to you. When money is gift, it is not meant to be stored up in barns or bank accounts with no other purpose than our own enjoyment. It is meant to change the world, to open doors, to solve problems, to tend to the hurting. Next week, we will see how, as we turn toward the final principle, the goal of the whole game, give all you can. Will you pray with me? Generous God, giver of every good and perfect gift, we thank you for all that we have, for entrusting it to us. In the allure and ease of extravagance all around us, help us draw lines between what we need and what we want. Guide us into simplicity. Give us wisdom to spend and save with purpose. Grant us a vision of a future that can start with a little seed now. Keep us honest in our earning, make us humble in our saving, and spur us toward abundance in our giving. In the name of Jesus, our treasure. Amen.
I'm Lauren Hogel. I've been going to Flatwoods United Methodist Church for my whole life. I've been baptized here, confirmation, all that good stuff. My husband, Tyler, recently is becoming a member, and then we have a new 6-month-old who is part of the Flatwoods family as well. We decided to start giving to Flatwoods for a variety of reasons, but I think the main reason is we want to see this church and this community thrive. We love to see the work that we're doing here within the walls of this church, but also the way that we're reaching our community. I think about all of the wonderful opportunities that I had growing up and everything that I got to experience here and then in our community, and I just want the same for my family and future generations. Because I grew up in Flatwoods, it was my parents that were doing the giving as I was growing up. And so I remember coming back from college and I had my job, I became a teacher, and I was sitting in church one day, and then it kind of dawned on me that it's not my parents that are giving anymore. I am my own entity, and so it's my job to also give to the church if I want to see it thrive and to continue to grow the way that it is. And so I remember as a kid, we would fight over who got to put that envelope in the plate as it was being passed. And then all of a sudden it was me putting in that envelope or giving online. When you see groups that are meeting, when you see children laughing and you hear them running around these halls and everything that's taking place, I know that my gift is making an impact on the things that are happening in this church and the way that people are seeing God and how God is working through them. But then I also think about everything that we've done out in our community and the impact we're making daily on different organizations. And I know that part of my financial piece has been helping that.
Lauren's story reminds me that throughout our lives, we find ourselves in different chapters of giving. We think about it differently in different seasons of life. For some of us, we've never given anything, and maybe it's just taking that first step to give a first gift. For others of us, we were on autopilot and maybe gave like our parents did, or our parents gave for us, and now we get to do that for the first time. Some of us give occasionally, and maybe there's more intention that can be made in the gifts that we give. And some of us give regularly, but we haven't looked at our giving in a long time. Maybe it's time to make a change there as well. But think about where you are in that journey for yourself as we spend these weeks talking about money and faith and the relationship between the two. I hope that as we do spend time talking about this, you'll consider making a gift to Flatwoods Church. During this next song, you can do so by scanning the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our website and you can make a safe and meaningful gift there. In recent weeks, I hope that you've received our financial impact report from the last year. If not, you can always go to our website to the Ways to Give page and see there all the ways that your giving has made a difference in people's lives right here in our community. Also on that Ways to Give page, you'll find an intentional giving card. And as we spend time this month thinking about our money and its purpose as a gift from God, you can begin to look ahead to next year and consider what giving to Flatwoods Church might look like for you and for your family. We are grateful for your generosity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jen, and I am the Director of Kid Connection here at Plattwoods Church. We are so glad that you decided to spend part of your weekend in worship with your church family. As we close worship today, we wanted to make sure you know about some opportunities to take the next step by gathering, growing, giving, or going. No matter who you are or where you come from, this is a place for you. If this is your first time worshiping or you are new, we hope that your next step is simply returning to worship soon, to connect deeper with this community. If you are looking for other ways to step out in faith, scan the QR code. There, you can see everything that is happening in the life of the church. On Sunday, November 27th at 1 o'clock, all generations are invited to a special free Sunday movie matinee on the big screen here in the Worship Center. We'll enjoy a fan favorite Christmas movie that's sure to make you laugh. We'll also enjoy popcorn, M&Ms, and other concessions. Be sure to invite your family, friends, teammates, classmates, coworkers, and neighbors to this all-ages family movie experience. We hope you come back next week as we continue our series, All You Can. Invite a friend and dig deeper in community as we look at the ways Jesus calls all of us to a life of abundance. We'll see you next week.